Hi guys, welcome back to another video on this intermittently beautiful day. The sun seems to come out and then hide behind the clouds when it feels like it. Today we're going to dive deeper into Aperture and show you how you can control it to achieve the shots that you're looking for. If you didn't see my video on manual settings, I'll link it in the description below. But just to recap, Aperture is a small ring inside your lens made up of a couple of blades or leaves as they're sometimes called, and this ring opens or closes to adjust your aperture, opening wider to let in more light or closing. Why are there cars on the road? Another one. Or closing to let in less light. But as we know from the first video, adjusting your aperture doesn't only control how much light comes in and out, it also changes your depth of field. So we're going to explore that a little bit more in today's video. So let's put our beautiful models here to work and get straight into it. For this video, I'm going to be shooting all the photographs on a Fuji X-H1, starting with a 16-55 f2.8 lens, and we're going to switch over to the 50-140 f2.8 a little bit later. So the idea here is to show you how aperture is affected in multiple ways. Firstly, obviously by adjusting your aperture. Secondly, by the focal length of your lens. And third is how close you are to your subject. We're going to start off with 16mm with f22, and we'll take it from there, working our way down to f2.8. In these examples, I'm going to leave ISO and shutter speed both at auto, just to make life easier for us with exposure. In my video on manual settings, I showed you how adjusting your aperture can adjust the light coming into the lens. We're not going to worry about that in this video. We're going to focus more on the depth of field and how you adjust that depending on your situation. So let's start off with 16mm, f22, and we take our first shot. I'm going to jump down to f16, f11, f8, 5.6, f4, and ultimately f2.8. Okay. 35mm, f22, f16, f11, and yes, I'm cheating in using the display. I would normally shoot photographs through the viewfinder. Okay, that's f8, f5.6, f4, and f2.8. And we can already see a difference in the background just by zooming in from 16 to 35mm. Right, let's step up to 55mm, f22, f11, f5.6, and f2.8. Already, just by zooming in from 16 to 35mm, we see a big difference in our background at f2.8. Stepping it up to 55mm accentuates that a little bit more. Since this is a 16 to 55mm lens and we've just shot at 55, I'm going to switch over to the 50 to 140 and we'll see how much closer we can get to the subject. So we're ready to go. We'll step straight up to about 70. Okay, 70 f22. Even at 70mm, at f22, we still have quite a clear background. 70mm, f11, 2.8 70mm starting to look quite beautiful. So 85mm is quite a nice focal length for portraits. Another car. And I'm sure most of you will know by now that portraits with a nice soft background just emphasizes the portrait so much more and makes it a more pleasing viewing experience. We are up to 90mm now, f22, f8, f2.8. I've just set 140mm on the lens, and even at f22 we have a nice softish background. Let's see what it looks like at f2.8. 140mm, f22, f8, and f2.8. If you have a look at f2.8, I'm focusing on Harry's head over there. Even this far away from the subject, at f2.8, 140mm, Harry is in focus. Even Yoda and Chewie are a little bit soft. The camera is currently about 2 meters away from the subject. What we're going to do now is come closer and see what a difference it makes in the aperture. Here we are pretty much about 1 meter away from a subject, and we're going to take a look at 1 or 2 images and see how it compares to being 2 meters away. So I'm going to shoot first at 70mm f22, f8, and 70mm f2.8. Straight to 140mm f22, f11, and f2.8. So when it comes to aperture, there are a couple of things you need to remember. When shooting wide open, especially with portraits and close-up portraits, you need to remember that wide open makes it more difficult to focus. So if you miss the focus point and you focus on the ear instead of the eyes, for instance, your eyes are going to be way out. So ensure that you get the correct focus if you're shooting wide open. Then if you're stuck with just the plain kit lenses, a lot of the kit lenses only started at 3.5, which makes it very difficult to get that nice soft back focus. So the easiest way to get around that obviously is coming as close as possible to your subject, but that's not always possible. The next best option would be looking at a prime lens. Prime lens differs to a zoom lens in that it's a set focal length, call it 50mm for example, and the prime lenses generally have a faster aperture at a lower price range. For all you Canon users out there, the Nifty 50 is a perfect example. 50mm, f1.8, and it's one of the cheapest lenses in the range. But this entire time we've been talking about getting a nice soft background. You can also get a nice soft foreground. One of the best ways of doing this is to shoot through something. Make your pictures more dramatic. Take a look at these examples from Roxanne. She's one of our local photographers. Her pictures show beautifully how you can shoot through an object, adding artistic flair and emphasizing your subject. In this specific example, she's holding up a crystal candlestick. You can't see that it's a candlestick, but it adds a really nice flair to the photograph. So I hope what we've spoken about today has explained to you what Aperture is and how you can use it in creative ways to enhance your own photographs. Please don't forget to like and subscribe so I can keep making this content for you, and we'll see you in the next video.